Welcome, everyone. I'm Ann Artis. I have the privilege and pleasure of serving as the Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, and I'm delighted and truly honored to welcome you all to Mason's Fairfax campus in this beautiful Center for the Arts as we celebrate a milestone moment in the history of one of the college's most long-standing research centers. Since its establishment in 2009, the Center for Global Islamic Studies has distinguished itself both nationally and internationally as an incubator and a hub of research excellence in the multidisciplinary field of Islamic studies. The center's programs and projects, supported by the likes of the National Endowment for the Humanities, the Henry Luce Foundation, the Social Science Research Council, the John Templeton Foundation, and the Carnegie Corporation of New York, have helped to sustain numerous specialized research communities. Widely recognized for its unique convening capacity, the center is an incredibly important resource for the study of Islam today. While this research center is chartered by the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, it facilitates research and scholarly collaborations across the entire university community. Working alongside their chess colleagues, a number of faculty in the Schar School of Public Policy and the Carter School for Peace and Conflict Resolution, for example, are members of the center's core and affiliate faculty groups. This new name and new chapter for the AbuSulayman Center for Global Islamic Studies presents a unique opportunity to build on the center's distinguished past and take its work to that proverbial next level. It will permit the center to support and invest in students, facilitate the development of new faculty research collaborations, and seed new projects that may later become candidates for external funding. The center already has an impressive track record in this regard, as I hope sort of registered with you in terms of the names of the foundations and corporations that the center has gotten grants from over the last few years. Yaqub Mirza and the Mirza Family Foundation are longstanding friends and partners of both chess and the university. This gift to name the center in honor of a prominent global Islamic scholar is an exceptional good fit for Mason, where we draw strength from the global nature of our student body, as well as the scope and scale of our research partnerships. It's also the culmination of years, decades, of exemplary work and service to our community, as Yaqub is also an active member, has been a member of the college's advisory board for a number of years. And you'll see his name on the Steinway board of support elsewhere in this beautiful building. I am honored, really privileged, that this gift allows us to deepen and expand this friendship and collaboration with the Mirza family and with all of you here tonight. Many of you here tonight are aware that the center's director, Dr. Peter Mandeville, recently started a leave of absence from George Mason University in order to take up an appointment at the United States Institute of Peace. The world needs Peter in that role. As long as he comes back, I'm okay with that. And so we're really glad that he's taking an opportunity to broaden his impact on the international community. Peter has been involved with the development of Islamic studies at Mason for more than 20 years, serving multiple terms as either director or co-director of this center, and he will return after his period of public service. Peter's with us again tonight, joined by our interim director of the center, Dr. Maria de Cake. Maria has been a part of this center for also many years and served as a prior interim director as well. She's well positioned to lead the center during this exciting time. Peter, please come forward and share remarks with the group tonight.
Good evening. Assalamu Alaikum. It is just such a pleasure. I'm filled with so much joy to see so many friends, people that have been like family to me in this community over the last couple of decades. Such a warm welcome to all of you. Dean Artis, thank you so much for the introduction, for opening us up this evening. I wanted to say a little bit about what is important about this new center, the opportunity that we have, and to share a little bit of the history of my own relationship and awareness of the individual in whose honor the center is named. Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman was a Saudi citizen who became a prominent figure in global Islamic scholarship and higher education. One of the original co-founders of the International Institute of Islamic Thought, based in Herndon, Virginia, many of whose luminary leaders are joining us this evening. It's wonderful to see all of you. You've been such close friends of this center and the establishment of Islamic studies at Mason. Dr. AbuSulayman worked very closely with his colleagues at IIIT over the years to develop distinctive new intellectual paradigms for the study of Islam. And on a personal note, I'd like to acknowledge a very specific direct influence that Dr. Abdul Hamid's work had on my own formation as a scholar. I actually first became aware of his work in the mid-1990s when I was writing my doctoral dissertation. Having been raised and born in Saudi Arabia, the third generation of my family to live in the kingdom, I had a lifelong interest in Islam and sought in my own academic work to integrate the fields of Islamic studies and international relations. I'd long been dissatisfied with what I saw as the very Eurocentric nature of the field of international relations. And here was a domain of study, international studies, international relations, that purports to explain the entire world, but whose central theoretical reference points were produced exclusively in Northern European or American settings. Certainly other world cultures, philosophies, faith traditions, and value systems had developed ways of thinking about relations between political communities in the world. I knew, for example, of course, that even the earliest Muslim communities were engaged in acts of diplomacy and treaty making. And so as I embarked on this academic journey, I was delighted and profoundly grateful to discover Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman's very important and seminal 1987 study towards an Islamic theory of international relations, the first systematic effort to produce a modern Islamic theory of international relations. I used it and cited it extensively as I and a growing community of international relations scholars began to write about the notion of a post-Western international relations. So fast forward a couple of decades, and my colleagues and I at George Mason University found ourselves similarly frustrated by a form of parochialism that was present within the field of Islamic studies itself, particularly in the United States. And this was a tendency to treat Islamic studies almost as a sort of corollary of Middle East area studies. What was needed, we felt, was a distinctly global paradigm for Islamic studies, one that would fully appreciate Islam as a world religion with an important intellectual and cultural legacy to maintain and develop in light of new challenges. This required an approach that focuses on the transnational circulation of ideas, beliefs, and practices between and across Muslim settings throughout the globe. And here again, Dr. AbuSulayman, I feel, exemplifies and embodies this approach just by dint of his personal and professional biography, one that spans locales as diverse as Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Pennsylvania, and Malaysia. In the latter part of his life, Dr. AbuSulayman reached the conclusion that human development and progress, particularly in the Muslim world, would be best served by nothing less ambitious than a reimagination of the entire enterprise of education and knowledge production through the creation of pedagogical environments in which diverse traditions of knowledge could coexist and cross-fertilize in pursuit of a more holistic conception of education. So we are so delighted to be able to honor Dr. AbuSulayman's legacy by putting his name to our center. In a moment, we're going to hear a little bit about the various kinds of new activities and programs that this gift will be enabling. As Dean Artis mentioned, I'm currently on leave from the university, working at the United States Institute of Peace for a couple of years, but was so delighted and frankly relieved when my colleague Maria de Cake agreed to serve as the center's director. She and I started teaching at Mason at exactly the same time, 22 years ago, and Maria has been such an important part of developing Islamic studies at the university. I know that between her and my good friend and colleague, Professor Hossein Yilmaz, the center's research director, the AbuSulayman Center is in incredibly capable and experienced hands as it begins this exciting new phase. I'd love to hand over to Maria now to tell you a little bit more about the current and future work of the center. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Assalamu Alaikum. It's really wonderful to see so many friends of the center, both old and new, here to celebrate this important new chapter for Islamic studies at George Mason. So let me first of all begin by echoing my gratitude to the Mirza family for this very meaningful gift in honor of your late friend and colleague, Dr. Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman. This gift will open up so many new possibilities for the center and the work that it does to advance both scholarship and the public understanding of Islam. I also want to thank members of the AbuSulayman family, many of whom are here with us tonight, for joining us to celebrate in this special tribute to your father and grandfather's legacy. I also want to take a moment to thank all of those who worked so hard to make this evening a possibility. But I want to especially thank Aisha Noor Sonmez Kara, the center's Office and Programs Coordinator, and Shannon Donahue, Associate Director of Development in Chess, who have worked so hard to make everything go smoothly tonight. Thank you so much to you both. As Peter mentioned, I'm currently serving as interim director of the center while he's on leave, so I wanted to take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about what the center does, its accomplishments, its projects, its ongoing projects, and its plans for the future. From the center's inception in 2009, its primary focus has been on supporting and engaging high-level research. And we'll see if the tech works. I can't see it, so hopefully you're seeing something. So it's been focused on research in Islamic studies, and it aims to promote the study of Islam and Muslims from different disciplinary perspectives: history, religious studies, language and literature, anthropology, international relations, as we heard from Peter, and many others. It has described itself from the beginning as a center for global Islamic studies. And that, of course, will remain a part of the name because the center is committed to exploring Islam not only in the Middle Eastern region with which it is most commonly associated, but also in its global reality. So the center is interested in Islam in all of the places where it manifests, including not only Muslim majority communities, but also the vibrant Muslim minority communities in the United States and in other places as well. The center's current projects really represent this range of interest. So for example, one of the center's most exciting current endeavors is a Luce-supported project on Black American Muslim internationalism, focused on developments in the Black American Muslim community beginning in the latter part of the 20th century. And later this fall, the center will host its inaugural Anwar Ibrahim lecture, funded by a gift from the International Institute of Islamic Thought. And the event will feature two prominent emerging scholars who will speak on the topic of Muslim communities in Southeast Asia, all the way on the other side of the globe, which is, of course, a growing area of research interest in the field. Moreover, the center's scholarly projects and programs have sought to engage the history and textual traditions of the Muslim community, as well as Muslim life and Muslim thought in the present era. The center hosted, virtually of course, a rich set of speakers last year during the pandemic to explore the effects and significance of the pandemic on Muslim communities worldwide. And one of the center's current John Templeton Foundation-sponsored projects explores the significance of Islamic moral theology and ethical traditions in light of contemporary global challenges. Through conferences, speaker series, and a wide variety of sponsored projects, the center has been able to advance the research done by Mason faculty who study Islam from different disciplinary perspectives, and to engage with leading scholars in the field, bringing them to Mason as speakers, as conference participants, as visiting scholars, and as research collaborators. And I want to mention that many of our scholarly programs and events are planned and arranged under the leadership of Dr. Hussein Yilmaz, the center's research director, who is here this evening. The center is also committed to public outreach and public-facing scholarship. Many of the center's past projects have worked to bring greater knowledge to Muslim history, greater knowledge of Islam to audiences outside the university by developing resources about Muslim history and peoples that can be used to educate secondary school students and the general public. Its online open access resource and publication platform, Meydan, publishes short articles and podcasts on various aspects of Islamic studies that are meant to be accessible to both specialist and non-specialist audiences. And the editor of Meydan, Dr. Ahmed Tekelioglu, is also here with us tonight. While the center's work is focused primarily on research, it is also committed to supporting students who are interested in pursuing Islamic studies. Over its history, the center has supported Mason students in Chess's MA program in Middle East and Islamic Studies, provided internships for graduate and undergraduate students interested in the field, and also helped to support the university's, the Chess's Turkish language program. The center also invests in the next generation of Islamic studies scholars, both inside and outside of Mason, by hosting regular graduate colloquia, where developing scholars are given unique opportunities to share their work and get constructive feedback from established scholars. The generous new gift in honor of Dr. Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman will allow the center not only to continue the work that it does, but to broaden the horizons of its research and expand its academic connections regionally, nationally, and globally. In light of this new gift and the opportunities it presents, the center aims to develop more substantial connections with other Islamic studies programs and centers throughout the U.S., but also to explore more extensive international scholarly and research exchanges with institutions of higher learning in the Muslim majority world and other global contexts beyond North America. At the same time, the center is developing plans to expand opportunities for research and language acquisition for graduate students in various MA and PhD programs at Mason whose work relates to Islamic studies and who represent the future of our field. Time does not permit me to go into further detail about the center's many programs, projects, and events, but I would encourage you all to visit our website, which is here behind me, as well as our online platform, Meydan, to learn more about the center's work, past and present, and to keep abreast of new programs and developments and the expansion of the center's activity now made possible by this new gift. Thank you very much.
Greetings, Assalamu Alaikum. I'm really honored to be a part of this gathering and be included with the leadership of George Mason University. Yesterday, I was speaking to a group of church leaders. They insisted that I should tell a joke, and I'm compelled to share it with you because they liked it, and maybe you will like it. So, joke is that a preacher, before he went to the podium, will always bow down and say something, and then he goes to the podium, delivers a sermon. So one day his son asked him, "Why you do this?" He said, "I pray to God that I give a good sermon." So son paused and he said, "Then why doesn't God listen to you?" So I made a prayer, "May God help you." So my association with Mason goes back to 25 years, when our oldest daughter decided, having graduated from Thomas Jefferson, decided to land in Mason. We took her to many universities, and she said, no, this is it. I'm going to be at Mason. So after that, IIIT decided to endow a chair of Islamic Studies at Mason, and I serve as one of the member of the search committee with Maria, Peter, and others. So I never had so many free meals in my life as we did, and serving it again was a reminder of what we did before. So then our next two kids decided to go to Georgetown, and then the fourth one decided to come back to Mason because she realized you can get a good education without spending so much money. And both of them did very well. They got their PhDs from good universities, and they are doing very well. So congratulations. Thank you, Mason, for giving good education at reasonable cost. After that, I had the opportunity to be one of the board of advisors with chess. It was a lot of fun. And then I was privileged to serve 9 years on the George Mason University Foundation's board. So I was telling Dr. Washington we had many Zoom meetings, but never met him in person, which I did today. Now, today is a very special day for me because we are honoring a friend, a colleague whom I respect a great deal. When I met him in late 70s in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, he gave me a copy of his dissertation, which Peter has already talked about. I became very fond of him, impressed with his scholarship, his leadership, and his intellect. He was one of the renowned scholar. Talking to him on many subjects, he told me that the problem we have is with education and education system. We need to reform education system. Then my very dear brother, late Dr. Jamal Barzanji, also highlighted the importance of reforming higher education. And therefore, listening to both of these friends, we are offering, or we are funding, 2 graduate studies, graduate assistants to study reform of higher education in Muslim-majority country. And Peter has very nicely found one person who is still looking for another student to pursue a PhD degree. I am really honored and grateful for the love which Dr. Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman gave to me, the affection, and more importantly, his unconditional trust which he placed in me. It is very humbling indeed and made me to find ways to reciprocate. And today's function is one of the events where I feel that we are honoring him and his legacy. Now, when he was in good health about 6 years ago, at our request, Ayman, his son, asked him what should be his legacy. So he was very generous to share with us what his legacy should be and what are the projects which he wished we should pursue. That legacy was documented. Ayman again translated for us, and we have provided a copy to the center, and we are trying to follow that legacy which he had conveyed to us. When Abdul Hamid passed away last year in August, the family was looking for ways how to honor his legacy. So with my background or knowledge and my love for Mason, I was able to tell the family that I have a very much respect and love for Peter, Maria, and Abdulaziz Sachadina, and I knew that the funding for the center has come to an end. Therefore, it may be a possibility that we can rename the center. I want to thank all and everyone who participated in the process, and especially when Mason made it very easy to accept this gift, placing a great deal of trust in some of us. I really want to thank you for doing so. When we discussed with the family, family discussed and immediately agreed that this is the right thing to do. So lastly, I want to look forward what we expect to have happen. Our center here, AbuSulayman Global Center for Islamic Studies, is already working with our center, Center for Islam in the Contemporary World at Shenandoah University. We have identified Medan as one of the projects to work on, and we are working on other projects which will mutually identify that we can bring two centers together and make them, be successful, follow his legacy, and also undertake more projects. One of the projects which Peter had loved is that we want to create this center to be the hub of exchange of information between various Islamic studies departments throughout the country. And we have already started that process. Arizona State University people are coming. Maria has very graciously agreed to come and meet with them. That will be a starting point to create that hub, which will be at Mason, identifying and working with other Islamic studies departments throughout the country at various universities. Thank you so much. My special thanks to AbuSulayman family, who have graciously agreed to fund this amount and renaming the center. I look forward to many, many other projects in which we'll work together. Thank you so much, and I'm honored to meet with you, Dr. Washington. Thank you so much for your leadership. Thank you.
Assalamu Alaikum. Okay, it's been a long time since I prepared a speech, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit. Basically, I was very lucky being the son of Dr. Abdul Hamid AbuSulayman, my father. Not only did I have the privilege of knowing him for more than 50 years, but I lived with him. I had the opportunity to see him in all possible situations. So that gave me a unique perspective about him. I never really thought how lucky I was and how privileged I was being his son. That sense really started developing when I grew up and started having children. And as my children grew up, so did my sense of appreciation grow with that. When I was a teenager, you could just imagine how a teenager acts with his father. So I want to take this opportunity to share a little bit about my father. The people that will be working in the center will see his name every day for the next 10 years, hopefully, and more. So I thought it might be a good idea to share a little bit about him, who he was. You guys are going to know him very well through his articles, through his books, through his legacy. And I wanted to share a little bit about him as a person. So everything I'm going to be saying is relative. It's my opinion. So it's going to be a little bit biased, but even though I'd like to share that. Saying that my father, Dr. Abdul Hamid, was a great person is not an exaggeration. I only say that not from my own personal experience, but from what I saw the others see in him when they met with him, sat with him, talked with him, and had those long discussions. He was a giant among giants. So I'd like to share a little bit about what made him a great person. First, early in his childhood, he was recognized as a potential person. From the stories I heard from him, he was different from his peers. When he was in his elementary studies, he used to do articles in the school about the Islamic world and the problems that they have. So he had that sense very early in his in his childhood. And as much as he was clever, hard worker, and an achiever, as much as he was humble, he never saw problems. He only saw opportunities and solutions. Always, with no exception, when faced with a problem, he would say, "No problem," and start working on the solution. It was amazing. I mean, second thing, his mother's influence. His mother was illiterate, and his dad was a simple carpenter, and they lived in Mecca. And they barely made their day-to-day expenses. However, he would stress on how much his mother's principles, love, and dreams inspired him. She always encouraged him from his youth to be a scholar, and she put that in his conscience, I think, early on, and she would fight for it. When at one point of time, my grandfather wanted to take him out of school and make him work, he told me his mother fought very hard so that he should stay in school. And she couldn't read, basically. The other thing was his passion for reading. He would tell me how much he read. It was not only the quantity, but also the quality. His advice to me with my children was first create the passion of reading, then guide them to read something more conceptual. And he would always tell me, let them read mystery books. That's how he developed his problem-solving brain. So every time he traveled, almost with no exceptions, he would go to a library, go and get books, and bring them for me and my grandchildren, for my children. And he would bring boxes and boxes of books. It was amazing. Another point was that he was not a very social person, and he picked his friends very, very carefully. He did not waste his time on having fun, but always found joy in his work. He identified his mission in life very early and never lost sight of it. He was very principled and in every decision he made. He based it on moral principles as much as a human can be. I don't recall him taking shortcuts or advantage of any situations in any wrong way. As much as I would like to give credit to my father for his accomplishments and impact, I must point that I believe that God had an eye on him and helped him on the way. Depending on how you see it, fate, God, luck, it played a crucial role in his life and his accomplishments. Even though this center will carry his name, it is really not him alone, but the team he had with him that should take credit. However, I didn't really put up a fight when his name was proposed, so I'm happy about that. The other point that was very important in his life, that he found the right mentor early in his life. As the saying says, like attracts like. My dad was fortunate to meet, when he came to the USA and went to Penn State University, to meet with an individual that shaped his future. It was luck, God, and fate, depending on how you look at it, that he met his first giant, Dr. Faruqi, Allah yarhamu. Dr. Faruqi was his advisory doctor in his doctorate thesis and realized the potential my father had. He took him under his wing, and they became later on peers. It was amazing. The other point that was very important was working and building the right team. Early on, my dad met with other giants, Dr. Jamal Barazanji, Dr. Yaqub Mirza, Dr. Ahmed Tutunji, Dr. Hisham al-Talib, Dr. Taha Alwani. Together, they formed a team of giants. Each one of them had a unique strength that the other did not have. My dad, as much as he was a giant in Islamic thinking, as much as he was weak in other areas. However, the team had his back and complemented him in his weaknesses and he on theirs. Each member had a role. that the others respected and gave full support. I remember the number of times they had so much discussions and disagreements. Each one of them came from a different country, from a different city. Some of them were high-tempered, some of them were cooler. My dad played a crucial role as a mediator and was the glue that made sure differences were resolved and objectives were not wavered. So, what did my dad believe in? First of all, he believed that the mother and having a stable house and building a healthy psychological child is the first step. He would always emphasize having a happy home is important. Having a place for a child to grow up in a loving environment is step number one. Second, he believed in reading. Reading. I can't emphasize enough on how much he believed that reading is so important to the development of the child's brain. He would say that he lived in Mecca, and Mecca is basically a town between two big mountains. In the daytime, it absorbs the sun, and at night, it radiates that. And they didn't have electricity, air conditioning, and things like that at that time. He told me that he has visited the whole world while living in Mecca through the books he read. The number of books and the level of books that he read, and when he was describing it, is just amazing. He also believed that Islam was the only solution to humanity's social and political issues. His doctorate thesis was the beginning of formulating his thinking on Islam being a solution for humanity. His doctorate thesis was a start. It was on international relationships from an Islamic perspective. He also believed in sharing his message and knowledge with the academic community and to any person that was willing to listen to him. He treated every person, no matter how young or knowledgeable, with respect. Now, this is the part I think that would interest your group a little bit more. He believed that long-lasting changes would only occur through institutions. So when the opportunity came for him to practice the theory and was offered to lead the Islamic International University in Malaysia, he did not hesitate. He had the opportunity to apply a lot of the concepts he had worked on and talked about. The university became a beacon of change in the Far East. The individuals that graduated and had an impact in the Islamic world is amazing. Up till now, his impact lives on. Needless to mention, when Dr. Yaqub, my father's dearest friend, took the mission of continuing the work of my father and the teamwork, we as the AbuSulayman family did not hesitate in being part of this and wanted to contribute as much as possible in the capacity that we could. It seems that my father has found new friends, new peers, through this center. He has found you, and I hope you will continue his dream and beliefs in having a better world using one of the greatest philosophies and religions to help make this world a better world. He truly believed Islam was the solution for humanity. So just pondering away from the speech a little bit on this point, and one of the things that I really liked about my dad is that he didn't just work on theory. He worked on theory and applications. So it was not just about talking, doing books. At one stage of his life, it was that at the beginning, where he worked with the IIIT at the beginning, and they did all these seminars and discussions and gathered the people. But then when the opportunity came to go to the university in Malaysia and apply those thoughts and have an impact on the curriculum, on the way he wanted the students to come up and become responsible people with a very critical thinking process, with a love to the marriage institution, okay, he did it. For example, he made it mandatory to have a course on marriage in the university, because he saw that as part of the problem that people were having. So it began from the house. And if you have couples and people married with good concepts, it will further develop the individual. So right now, this group has a unique position on how to influence and shape the leaders of this world through this center, through this university. I believe it's your responsibility to attract, identify, and provide guidance, develop knowledge, and share that knowledge with the next generation in hope that those individuals will carry on those concepts and knowledge and influence on their societies and become better society that contributes to the human civilization. I don't think there's going to be a focal point of impact, but basically clusters of points that these ideas will spread, and as they grow and reach out, they will connect and become stronger. When I think what one person, what one team of 6 or 7 people with no financial or human resources were able to achieve, and what this opportunity has the potential to achieve, and having a university behind you, having a group of intellectuals that believe and can make a difference, it just amazes me to what can be accomplished. Everything was really about having a firm belief, a determination, a willing to sacrifice that made it possible for him and the team to accomplish what they did. We have made a 10-year commitment, and we thank you for giving us this opportunity and being part of your team. I live on hope that you make a difference in this world and make it a better place for our children and grandchildren. Again, thank you, and God bless you all.
One final special speaker tonight, Dr. Washington, Greg Washington, is with us tonight and would love to say some words to everyone. Dr. Washington.
First and foremost, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight and for gathering with us. Assalamu Alaikum. So a speaker must always understand his environment, and it is clear to me that I am the last of 6 speakers and the only thing between you and dinner. So I will be brief. Thank you, Dean Artis. It is a pleasure for me to be here today. Good evening to faculty, alumni, friends of the institution, and the family of AbuSulayman, of the AbuSulayman Center for Global Islamic Studies. The gift that was given to us by Dr. Mirza and the Mirza family to name the center speaks to the university's mission on how it reflects the incredible diversity that this institution has. I will tell you this, the naming of a chair, a scholarship, a building, or in this case, a center, is one of the best ways to honor a person. And I contend to you that the naming of a center is indeed the best of all of these others. And why would I say that? A scholarship is great, but it actually only supports 1, 2, or a few students. A chair is great, and we will accept chairs if any of you want to give them. But a chair usually supports 1 faculty member. A building is great, and we love support for buildings. We're not turning any of these levels of support down. But it's a structure. And oftentimes, that structure doesn't speak to you about its importance of why it's here or why it's here. But an academic center or institute supports many faculty, and it supports many students and it teaches the community, in this case, about global Islamic studies. This helps to build on the understanding of diversity and inclusion, which you all know this institution is really about. Yes, education, engagement, knowledge, and learning is one of the best pursuits that an individual can have. And this institute will do that, not just for 10 years, but it will do that for years and years and years to come. This center makes a signature of Mason's strengths, and it will help us all become stronger. Yaqub Mirza is a former member of the Board of Trustees, as he mentioned. He has worked closely with the Mason leadership to advance the university, which is now celebrating its 50th year. So, Dr. Mirza, I want to thank you personally on behalf of the institution for your support. Please give him a round of applause. Your generosity has created this wonderful opportunity to showcase all that the center has to offer and to highlight opportunities for further partnership and collaboration with this community. Your support also signals a bold vision for the future of the center and the important scholarship that we just saw highlighted that will take place here. We look forward to this collaboration of ideas inspired by global reach and interconnectedness of the Islamic culture. And we look toward the impact that our students and faculty will gain and deliver as a result of this institute and this center and your generosity. Thank you all. I think dinner is served now. Please enjoy the celebration.
There's a lot of people and this big sheikh speaking.